So you'll just have read in the article before this video about the fight and flight response. Now, that's a response that's happening all the time in our body, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It actually keeps us safe. We need to know that when we go to step out in the road and something is coming, that we're able to spring into action really quickly. Or going back some time in history when the saber-toothed tiger was coming after us and our family. But the brain and the body haven't really caught up with modern life. And when we get into these professional speaking situations, meetings, interviews, presentations, pitches, and we're feeling nervous, the brain and the body respond in the same way as if you were in physical danger. So that heart races, those knees maybe wobble a little bit, maybe your voice gets really tight and quiet, and maybe all through the body you're starting to feel tension, and that is a really good bodily response to make sure you're ready to flee. But obviously in a speaking situation you don't want to flee, and we'll come on next week to look at some ways that you can reduce that tension. But for now, I want to take us into a bit more detail to think specifically about the voice and speaking and how different bits of tension in different bits of the body affect it. We're going to start down at the knees. Now, lots of people wouldn't necessarily think that the knees are anything to do with the voice. But actually, if you have tension in the bottom half of your body, it will travel up into the top. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Let me demonstrate something for you. So I'm going to use the days of the week, and you might want to follow along and try this at home. The first time I'm going to give it in the way that I'm speaking now. So, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So my voice is nice and full, I feel relaxed in my body, and hopefully that's coming across to you, the audience. However, I'm going to make one very small change now, and I'm going to lock my knees. And actually, the second I've done it, I can actually feel tension right up my legs, into my stomach, and even up into this area and around my throat where my vocal cords are. So let's try those days of the week again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Whew, let that go. So actually, even though it's just a small change, having that body really tense starts to change my volume. It starts to change how much my pitch changes. And it means that I have less vocal expression. And if we have less vocal expression, we have less impact with our message, and also we don't look as confident. The next thing I want to think about is the stomach area, the abdominal muscles. Now, it's really common for a lot of people that when you feel slightly stressed, nervous, anxious, that you grip in the abdominal area. So you feel those muscles tightening. And again, it's that response that if you needed to flee a situation, your body's ready to respond. However, if we've got those abdominals really tight, our diaphragm that we looked at in one of the previous lessons can't move. Try it with me now. I want you to really squeeze those abdominals. And now I want you to try and take a big breath of air in. Really difficult, really, really hard. So if we're clenching that abdominal area because we're nervous, we're not able to get that breath in, and obviously the breath is the fuel for the voice. Let's think about the jaw, our final thing to think about. Again, the jaw, really common area for people to hold lots of tension. But if I do those days of the week again for you with that tense jaw, you might notice what happens. Here we go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I wasn't trying to be quieter then. That was just what happens when you reduce the amount of space. Also, I wasn't able to be as expressive with my voice, with my jaw more locked. So those are just 3 of the areas. We all hold tension in different places, and you can start to go on this journey now to discover where you hold tension. But you might want to have a play with this. Try saying your introduction speech with your knees locked, and then try having them released again. Maybe try with the tight stomach muscles, and then see if you can get some softness happening there, and the same with the jaw. Don't worry if at the moment you feel that you can't get that tension out of your body. When we get into next week's lessons, we're going to show you some really simple but effective ways to release that tension so that you can be confident and impactful in all of your communications.
Slate 2, take 2. Slate 2, take 2. Action.
So, up to this point, we have been learning all sorts of different things about the body and about the voice. And we've touched on the fact that communication isn't just about the words, it's about how you say them. One of the other things we need to consider, though, is what the body is saying. So whilst we maybe don't think about the body necessarily as a communication tool, it is. And at all times, your audience, either consciously or more likely unconsciously, are taking in these messages that you're giving off. Let me give you an example. So, say, for example, I'd started this video. I'm just going to roll back on that. Let me give you an example. I want you to imagine how you would have felt if I had started the video like this. So, this far in the course, we've been looking at communication, and we have been considering that it's not just language that we need to think about, it's how we say it. Now, depending on who you are, you will have felt that in different ways. Some of you, it's maybe a familiar thing to you. Maybe there are people around you that communicate in that way. But maybe there was something in there that made you feel quite cut off from me. If I think about my position as the speaker and what I felt there, so when I've got this open stance, there's space across my shoulders, I feel sort of uplifted somewhere in the middle, my face is open and I'm engaged, it actually makes me feel confident. And I'm sending messages back to my brain through the body, I'm confident. When I close off the body language here in some way, there is something inside of me that is losing confidence. And it's because I'm taking away that space, and that is saying to my brain, there's something going on here. My human feels unconfident. Now, I've given you two quite big examples, open body language and closed body language. However, even just a slight difference can impact your communication. So let's take, for example, instead of me being here and gesturing, I'm going to have my arms down by my sides with my palms on my legs. And I'm going to carry on the video. Now, again, it's not a huge change, but again, I can just feel here where I've closed off my body language that I'm starting to tighten in the abdominals, that I don't feel so connected with the message. Now, I want to let you know that there actually isn't strict rules about body language. Some people might say there are, but I don't think it is that straightforward. I think it is about you really starting to feel what body language works for you in what situation. So, for example, if you're in a situation where you need to win hearts and minds, you need to really connect on that human level, you may want to have this more open body language. However, there might be a time where you need to deliver a more serious message, something more grave maybe, or there might be a time where you really need to deliver a very serious message, maybe something more grave, you need more gravitas, you need to build connection. No, that's not what you need to do. Can we pause? My mouth is like a desert. And let me just work out where I was. So, one thing I want to consider at this point is that I don't want you to think that there's a right or a wrong with body language. Actually, depending on our situation we're in, depending on our audience, we might want to shift things around a little. So, for example, in this video or when I'm teaching, having really open body language helps me get my message across. It helps people feel connected to me. It helps me feel more confident. However, if I needed to have a really serious conversation with someone, maybe there was a message that they had to understand and it's quite grave, or it really needs some gravitas, I might want to close off my body language a little bit. That often can help us build status if we need to, whereas this open body language is more about connecting. The ideal situation when it comes to body language is that you can move between the two depending on the situation. I would say there's probably not many situations where really closing off the body language will help. So, for example, kind of getting to here, really sort of arms folded, or even body slightly being away from the person you're speaking to, probably isn't going to lead to true two-way communication. But you can definitely move through these different places of maybe more stillness, more seriousness, or this more open, connected place. What I'd encourage you to do at the end of this video is try these out. Get your introduction speech out. Try doing it in different ways. What you'll probably find is that there's one style that you feel more comfortable with. For some of you, that will be the open communication. For others, it will be the more closed communication. It's really useful to work out which one you feel you often use and just see if you can start to introduce the other one and see what impact it has.